Speaking of difficult things, so you've also taught Malala.
Yeah.
And when she came from...
Malala wasn't difficult.
Well, the situation was... What was that like for you?
It was an interesting time for the school, I think. Obviously, there was concern because of what had happened to Malala. I think naturally you have to consider here is an individual that has a need to be educated. And also, like with everything else, you have to balance the needs of the individual with the needs of the rest of the school. And it was difficult because there were parents who were worried about what having Malala in school might mean. Were we raising the threat levels? We had to do an awful lot of, shall we say, preparation ourselves as a school to make sure that we were doing the right thing for both Malala and for the other pupils. But it was, I think it was important that we did bring Malala into the school because the school was established to educate girls. It's the oldest independent girls' school in Birmingham. It was set up to give a modern education to, admittedly, the children, the girls of the kind of the wealthy families of Birmingham. But we have to remember that the type of education that they had before was purely with a governess. So it was limited in scope. This was the idea of bringing a modern education to girls. And Malala was in need of an education. This was why she had been injured. And this was why she'd been shot. This was what she needed. This is what she stood for. So we had to give her an education. It was important for us as a school and for Malala as an individual. She should have what everybody else in the school had an entitlement to.
That's beautiful. But I also appreciate like those parents as well that ended up like being okay with it, because there is a risk, you know, God forbid if something had happened.
Well, yes, and I think it involved an awful lot of trust in the leadership of the school that we would make sure that the school was safe for them. And I also think it was important that what we did for Malala, and I know it maybe caused a little bit of conflict, but that, you know, we treated her as a pupil. There was nothing special about Malala in school. Malala was there.
Did you tell her off?
To receive an education. Did I tell her off? I might have had a few words every now and again.
Yeah, good. She needed that.
No. She was a very good student, but there were occasions when her mind had to be brought back to what she wanted to achieve, simply because she was a busy individual.
Yeah. So one story that my father told me to ask you was about the news of Nobel Prize. Would you like to tell us about that?
Yeah.
Well,
how did you find out, and how did it make you feel?
You see, I've just said that we weren't allowed, we didn't allow smartphones, but we had allowed iPads in class, and I was teaching my A-level class, and one of the pupils had news alert set up, the BBC News Alert set up on her iPad that we had been using in class. And this alert came through, and it basically said Malala Yousafzai has won the new Nobel. And of course, she was in school at the time. And it was kind of, oh, right, because we didn't expect it. We weren't anticipating it. And it was kind of, Okay, ladies, I'm going to have to stop the lesson now. It was nearly break time. I've got to go and do something. So I had to then go and find Malala. We were just coming up to break, so it was quite fortuitous, really. So I went and found where she was, which lesson she was in. And then I went to get her, to bring her down to the head's office, to give her the information and to let her speak to her dad, to her parents, really, and to kind of anticipate what this would mean for the school in terms of press, etc., etc. So I went to find her. She was in a chemistry lesson. So I had to climb all the way up to the top of the school. I went to the door, asked Malala to come out, and there was a, as there often was when I appeared in doorways. And she came out, and immediately she thought she'd done something wrong.
Yeah. It's like every other student when you get pulled out
out a lesson.
And I must admit, it had been my intention to take Malala downstairs to let the head give her the news, because it seemed appropriate. But she was so concerned as to why she was being dragged out of a lesson that I had to say, Malala, do you know what? Something's happened. Do you know what it might be? Yes, you have won the Nobel Peace Prize.
Wow. How did she react?
She was surprised. She was taken aback. She was, well, I don't think she really knew how to react. So we went down to the head's office and we regrouped there. And we got in touch, or various people got in touch with the family. Because what we had understood, because she had been nominated before, and that hadn't happened, and what we had understood was that there would be a phone call, which we could take her to. But we didn't get any phone calls.
What? So you just found out through the news?
We found out through the news. It was kind of...
Did your family get a phone call, or did you find out through the news as well?
No, I found out through my dad, but I think he also found out quite late.
Yeah.
It was very weird, the whole experience.
I think it was the school that gave people the news, and then there must have been something that happened here. And then at the end of the day, Malala went to a news conference, what would you call it, at Birmingham Library.
Yes, the big one.
The big one.
So beautiful.
Yeah, where that was the first time that I appreciated the power of flashes on cameras. It was kind of like, whoa. I had never experienced anything like it.
That's amazing.
That's such a beautiful story.
But yeah, it was an exciting day, shall we say.
What advice have you got for young people who might currently be in secondary school coming up to just get through these tumultuous times?
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? That everything coincides with, all of these important exams, etc., coincide with you being a teenager. When your brain is doing all sorts of things and developing it. Basically, I would say have some trust in your teachers and have some faith in yourself, but also pace your expectations. If you want to succeed in your exams, you have got to work. It's not going to happen by osmosis. It's not going to happen by magic. You have to be open to receiving the information, but you also have to allow yourself to do a little bit of work, and also see that setbacks are not forever. They're only setbacks. You learn from them. Ask questions.
That's beautiful. Should we ask the final question?
Yeah.
So we ask all our guests this question at the end. What would you want written on your tombstone?
That's a difficult one. I don't know. She tried her best. No, it's a difficult. I honestly don't know, but hopefully something like, yeah. Oh, that is so tricky. But really, I suppose mother, wife, teacher.
Another wife teacher.
Amazing.
That's the perfect place to end it. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for coming on, Julie.
Thank
We
you.
really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
It's been a
Thank you.
pleasure.
Definitely.
Thank you. Bye-bye. If you enjoyed this segment, please make sure to like and subscribe. Also, the link to the full podcast is in our description. And finally, I wanted to say that please make sure to follow and download the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts so we can bring you more amazing content. Thank you so much for listening.